Something strange happens when you stop playing the social game. People start acting hostile. Not confused, not curious, hostile. They whisper. They create stories about you. They treat your silence like you're committing a crime against them personally. And if you've ever wondered why simply existing on your own terms makes certain people lose their minds, here's the truth. Nobody's telling you. You're triggering them, not on purpose, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your quiet independence is exposing cracks in their identities. They've spent years hiding. There are 9 specific types of people who absolutely cannot handle that. 9 personalities who see a loner and feel something break inside them. And instead of dealing with it, they make you the villain. We're about to expose every single one of them. What they're hiding, what you're triggering, why your independence terrifies them so much they'd rather destroy you than face themselves. By the end, you'll never question yourself again when someone treats your silence like an attack, because it was never about you. Before we begin, let's start with the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to admit. Most people, I mean most, are terrified of themselves. They can't sit in silence. They can't be alone with their thoughts. They need noise, distraction, validation, anything to avoid confronting who they actually are when nobody's watching. And then you show up, the loner, the one who doesn't need their approval, the one who isn't performing, the one who's perfectly fine, sitting alone at lunch, working quietly, existing without needing a crowd to validate their existence. And it breaks them. Because if you can be okay without all the things they desperately need, what does that say about them? So they do what insecure people always do. They attack. They mock. They gossip. They label you as weird or unsocial or probably a serial killer, because that's easier than asking themselves why your independence makes them so uncomfortable. Let's talk about the people who need constant reassurance, like they're running on emotional fumes. You know the type. They walk into a room and immediately start fishing for compliments. They tell a story and their eyes dart around, waiting, watching, desperate to see who's paying attention. Picture this. You're in a group chat. Someone posts a selfie. Immediately the responses flood in. OMG, gorgeous. How? Are you even real? Stunning. You see it? You think they look nice? So you react with a simple thumbs up. 5 minutes later, you get a private DM. Do I look bad in that photo? You're confused. No, you look good. Then why didn't you say anything? I gave a thumbs up. Yeah, but everyone else actually commented. And there it is. A thumbs up wasn't enough. You needed to perform enthusiasm. Write a paragraph. Use emojis. Prove you were paying attention. Not just to them, but to the fact that they needed more validation. And what you give isn't enough. Some people need eye contact, nods, laughs, reactions, feedback on every single thing they say. And when you're the loner and don't give them that, oh, they lose their minds. Because in their world, silence equals rejection. If you're not gushing over their new haircut, you must hate it. If you're not laughing at their jokes, you must think they're boring. If you're not making eye contact every 5 seconds, you must be judging them. Here's what they don't understand. You're not thinking about them at all. You're just existing, minding your business, living your life, without performing for an audience. But to them, that's an insult, because they've built their entire identity on external validation, and you're not playing the game. You're not feeding their ego. You're not giving them the attention they've convinced themselves they need to survive. So they start whispering. They're so stuck up. Who do they think they are? And the irony, they're the ones obsessed with status. They're the ones constantly comparing themselves to others. They're the ones who can't function without an audience. But somehow you're the problem. Now, let's talk about the people who treat every conversation like a wrestling match for control. These are the ones who need to be the loudest, the funniest, the center of attention, the one everyone's looking at. They measure their worth by how much space they take up in a room. And loners don't care about any of that. Here's how it goes down. Group project, first meeting. They walk in and immediately take over. Cracking jokes, making decisions without asking, talking over people. Everyone else kind of shrinks, lets them lead, laughs when they're supposed to. But you just open your laptop and start working, not trying to compete, not trying to challenge them, just doing the thing you came to do. And you can feel it, the shift in energy. They get louder, more animated, start directing questions at you, trying to pull you into their performance. What do you think? You've been pretty quiet over there. It's not a genuine question. It's a power move because you're not playing their game and it's driving them insane. Because their entire strategy relies on people responding to their dominance. They're used to others stepping back, letting them lead, laughing at their jokes, following their energy. But you don't. You don't give them power. You don't seem impressed. You don't react the way they expect. And suddenly their whole routine falls flat. They'll try harder, get louder, more animated, more over the top. And you'll just keep doing your thing, not out of spite, just because you genuinely don't care about the social hierarchy they're trying to enforce. But to them, your indifference feels like defiance, and they can't stand it. So they start targeting you, making little digs, trying to get a reaction, trying to pull you into their game. And when you still don't bite, they label you as no fun, boring. Because the alternative, admitting that not everyone wants to play their stupid dominance games, has too much for their ego to handle. Here's a fun one. Some people are absolutely convinced they can read everyone in the room. They think they know who's happy, who's mad, who's jealous, who's secretly in love with who. They pride themselves on picking up vibes and reading energy, and they base their entire social strategy on predicting how people will react. But then you show up quiet, calm, unreadable, and they panic because they can't figure you out and they can't predict your next move. They can't tell if you like them, hate them, or couldn't care less, and that uncertainty makes them deeply uncomfortable. So they start projecting. They're probably judging everyone. They're probably planning something. Notice a pattern. They can't handle the mystery, so they fill in the blanks with their own insecurities. Because to them, silence isn't just silence. It's a threat. It's unpredictable. It's unknown. It's a variable they can't control. And people who need control, they hate variables. So they convince themselves you're dangerous, weird, off-putting. Not because you've actually done anything, but because their anxiety can't handle someone who doesn't broadcast their every thought and feeling. And rather than deal with that discomfort, they blame you for it. Let's be real for a second. Bullies don't target the strongest person in the room. They target whoever looks the most isolated. And loners. Loners are often alone. By choice, sure. But bullies don't care about that. All they see is no group backing you up, no one to defend you, no social consequences for attacking you. You're an easy target. Imagine you're in the break room, sitting by yourself, headphones in, just trying to get through your lunch in peace. They walk in, the loud group, the ones who always travel in packs, and one of them notices you. Wow, eating alone again. That's sad. Everyone laughs. You don't react. Keep eating. You probably think you're too good for us. More laughs. You still don't react, and that makes them angrier because here's what bullies actually hate about loners. They don't get the reaction they crave. But here's what's interesting. Bullies hate loners for a reason that has nothing to do with weakness. They hate loners because loners don't need the group. And that independence is terrifying to someone whose entire identity is built on social power. Think about it. Bullies thrive in hierarchies. They need the group to validate their dominance. They need people to fear them, follow them, worship them. But loners exist outside the hierarchy. You don't care about their status. You don't want their approval. You don't need their protection. And that makes you unpredictable Because if you don't need the group, what leverage do they have over you? None. So, they do what bullies always do when they can't control someone. They try to destroy you. Socially. Rumors, gossip, passive, aggressive comments, public humiliation. They'll frame your independence as arrogance, your silence as hostility, your self-sufficiency as weakness. Because the alternative, admitting that you're stronger than they are, is too painful for their fragile ego to accept. Oh, the gossip crowd. These people live for drama. They thrive on secrets, rumors, and everyone else's business. Their entire social ecosystem is built on who's dating who said what, who's mad at who's doing what. They need a constant flow of information to stay relevant. And loners don't contribute to that ecosystem. You don't gossip. You don't share secrets. You don't get involved in drama. And that makes you useless to them. Worse, it makes you suspicious because in their world, if you're not sharing information, you must be hiding something. If you're not joining the group chats, you must think you're too good for them. If you're not laughing along with the latest rumor, you must be judging them. So they start targeting you. They try to pull you in, bait you with drama, get you to react, and when you don't, they make you the subject of the gossip. They're so weird. They never talk to anyone. I bet they think they're better than us, because if they can't use you, they'll make an example out of you. And the worst part, most of them don't even realize they're doing it. They've convinced themselves that their gossip is just staying connected. And your refusal to participate is a personal attack. Not all extroverts. Let's be clear about that. But some extroverts are so uncomfortable with silence that they'll do anything to fill it. They talk constantly, need noise, need stimulation, need activity. And when they're around a loner who's perfectly comfortable with quiet, they lose their minds. They assume you're bored. You're mad. You want them to leave. They can't fathom that someone might actually enjoy silence. So they keep talking, keep asking questions, keep trying to fix the awkwardness that only exists in their head. And when you still don't match their energy, they get offended. You're so boring. Why are you even here? Because to them, silence is failure. If the conversation isn't loud, energetic, and constant, something must be wrong. And rather than accept that different people have different comfort levels, they blame you for not performing the way they expect. These people need you to be their therapist. They trauma dump without asking, expect you to solve their problems, need constant emotional labor, get offended when you set boundaries. Friday evening. You're about to leave work. Your phone buzzes. It's them. Hey, can we talk? I'm going through something. You've been here before. It's never a quick talk. It's an hour-long session where they unload everything. Their relationship drama, work stress, family issues, and expect you to fix it all. But you are already exhausted today. So you text back, I'm actually heading out. Can it wait till Monday? Read at 6 p.m. No response. Monday morning, they walk right past you. Won't make eye contact. Later, you hear through someone else. Yeah, they said you were being really cold. They just needed someone to talk to. You were not cold. You were not heartless. You're just not going to let someone drain you emotionally without your consent anymore. But to them, that's abandonment, because they've built their entire social strategy around finding people who will absorb their problems. And you're not volunteering. You're self-sufficient. You handle your own stuff. You don't need to unload on others to feel better. And that makes them uncomfortable. Because if you can be okay without constant emotional support, what does that say about them? So they label you as cold, uncaring, heartless, not a real friend. Not because you've actually done anything wrong, but because your independence highlights their dependence, and they can't handle that mirror. Here's the scary one. Some people don't just want your attention. They want your compliance. They need to know where you are, know what you're thinking now, what you're doing. You start dating someone. First few weeks are great. Then The questions start excessively. Where are you? Who are you with? Why didn't you text me back? Not out of curiosity. Out of control. You need space one. Saturday. Just a day to yourself. If you tell them that, and suddenly are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong? I thought we were close. You've been really distant lately. They're not hurt. They're losing control. And loners are nearly impossible to control. Because you don't share everything. You don't need their approval. You don't respond to guilt trips. You don't fall for manipulation tactics. And that makes you dangerous in their eyes. Controllers rely on access. They need to be able to read you, predict you, influence you. But when you keep parts of yourself private, when you make decisions without consulting them, when you set boundaries they can't cross, they panic. So they try harder. More questions, more guilt, more manipulation. I thought we were close. Why don't you tell me anything? You've changed. They'll frame your boundaries as betrayal, because in their mind, closeness means access to everything. And when you don't give them that, they'll either try to destroy you or discard you entirely, because a loner who won't be controlled is a threat to their entire strategy. And finally, the narcissists. These people need admiration, worship, constant validation. You're at a party. They're holding court in the center of the room, telling stories, making everyone laugh, soaking up the attention. Everyone's gathered around, nodding, reacting, giving them exactly what they need. You're across the room, talking to another person, or maybe just standing there with a drink, observing. They notice mid-story. They call out to you. Hey, you're missing the best story. Come over here. You smile politely. I'm good, thanks. And you see it, the flash of something dark in their eyes to a narcissist. And that feels like disrespect, because in their world, everyone should recognize their greatness. Everyone should be paying attention. Everyone should be impressed. But you're not. Loners aren't natural worshippers. You're just existing, doing your thing, not particularly interested in their theatrics, and that indifferency is unbearable to them. So, they do one of two things. Either they'll try to win you over, showering you with attention, trying to make you their special project, or they'll try to destroy you socially. They'll spread rumors. They'll gaslight you. They'll turn others against you. Because if they can't make you worship them, they'll make sure everyone else sees you as the problem. And the saddest part, they'll genuinely believe they're the victim in this scenario. In their mind, your independence is an attack. Your disinterest is an insult. Your self-sufficiency is arrogance, because they've built their entire identity on being the center of attention, and you're not playing along. Notice something about all these types. Every single one of them hates loners for the same core reason. Loners don't need them. And that's terrifying, because most people have built their entire sense of self on being needed, being liked, being relevant, being in control. But loners are proof that you don't need any of that to be okay. You don't need constant validation. You don't need a crowd. You don't need to perform for approval. You can just exist. And that simple act of existing without needing anything from them breaks their entire worldview. Because if you could be happy without all the things they desperately need, what does that say about them? Are they weak? Are they too much dependent? Are they the ones with the problem? And rather than sit with that uncomfortable question, they blame you. You're weird. You're a problem. Because that's easier than admitting the truth. Their hatred of loners is just their own insecurity reflected back at them. When you choose to be alone, you're not just making a personal choice. You're challenging everything society says you should be. Because if you're happy without following the rules, what does that say about everyone who is following them? Are they just playing along, going through the motions, pretending to care about things they don't actually value? Maybe. And that thought that maybe they're living a lie while you're living authentically is too much for most people to handle. So they attack, they mock, they gossip, they try to shame you back into compliance. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you're Existence is a threat to their fragile sense of identity. Once you understand these 9 types, once you see the pattern, something shifts. You stop taking their reactions personally because you realize their discomfort was never a reflection of your worth. It was always a reflection of their limitations. The person who needs constant validation, they're not mad at you. They're trapped in a cycle where their self-worth depends on external approval, and your proof that cycle is optional. The social dominator, they're not offended by you. They're threatened by anyone who won't submit to their hierarchy. The mind readator, they're not really suspicious of you. They're addicted to predictability, and you're a variable they can't control. Every attack, every label, every whispered rumor, it's all just their fear dressed up as judgment. And the moment you see, that will really see it, you become untouchable. So what now? If you're a loner reading this, you already know everything I just said is true. You've lived it. You've felt it. You've been on the receiving end of every eye roll, every whisper, every "you're so quiet" comment disguised as concern. And here's what you need to understand. None of it is about you. It never was. Every insult, every label, every attempt to make you feel like the problem, it's all just a reflection of their discomfort. Your silence makes them question their need for noise. Your comfort with solitude makes them question why they're so terrified of being alone. And rather than sit with that discomfort, they project it onto you. So let them call you weird. Let them call you antisocial. Let them whisper and gossip and try to make you the villain in their story. Because at the end of the day, you know the truth. You're not the problem. You're just a mirror. But they're too afraid to look into. And if you made it this far, if you read this whole thing, then share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because the more we talk about this, the less power society has to shame us for choosing ourselves. Stay strong, stay independent, stay you.